Perhaps no one felt as pushed out by the Cuban arrivals as brusquely as black Miamians. Little Havana sat across the Miami River from Overtown, the city's historic black neighborhood since the 1890s. Miami belonged to the Jim Crow South, and as African Americans watched Cubans ensconce themselves there, they noted all kinds of contradictions. At a time and place in which racial segregation was rampant, they observed how almost all Cubans, often no matter their skin color, became white. Sometimes it happened at the very moment of arrival. When they registered at the refugee center downtown, people received hotel vouchers if they needed them. Almost all but the very darkest refugees received vouchers for white hotels. Miami beaches were just as segregated. Some were restricted to whites, others to blacks. Quote, "But Cubans may use either beach," reported Look magazine in April 1959. Cuban children, almost no matter their complexion, were allowed to go to white public schools, which were invariably better resourced than their black counterparts. In 1961, a local black minister speculated that African Americans in Miami could solve the problem of school segregation simply by teaching their children to speak only Spanish. Such observations aside, black leaders consistently emphasized that the problem was not with the new arrivals themselves, but with the preferential treatment given them by the government. As the head of Miami's Urban League insisted, we're not angry at the Cubans, but at a system that will do more for outsiders than for its own citizens. The Cubans, however, were not just any outsiders. They were outsiders fleeing communism at the height of the Cold War, and that made refugees an asset. They might be willing recruits for Washington's anti-Castro projects. At the very least, their arrival in large numbers helped tarnish the image of the revolution before the world. Accordingly, the Immigration and Naturalization Service gave Cubans temporary legal status. Then, near the end of his term, Eisenhower established the Cuban Refugee Emergency Center to coordinate relief to Cuban arrivals. The program, renamed and expanded by Kennedy, gave Cubans access to all kinds of resources: work permits, job training, English classes, small loans, subsidized childcare, housing assistance, and job referrals. Access to those benefits allowed Cubans to work for lower wages than others, sometimes for as little as half the wage garnered by their black counterparts. One report estimated that between 1959 and 1962, 12,000 African Americans lost their jobs to Cubans.
El gobernador de Florida, DeSantis, está promoviendo una ley que trabajar sin papeles sea una felonía y que todas las compañías o empleadores tienen que utilizar el E-Verify. O sea, va a ser imposible a los que no tenemos papeles trabajar. O sea, básicamente imposible, no vamos a poder trabajar. Entonces me gustaría que, compa, mande unos 300 personas aquí de ojos blanquitos, ciudadanos, pues todos ciudadanos, que vengan a colgar chirrop, a hacer el frame, colgar los ductos, hacer electricidad, todo. Y que mande también ese montón de gente allá para el campo, a la agricultura. Van a cosechar a ver si es cierto que van a poder hacer el trabajo que hacemos nosotros, los inmigrantes en este país. Que ellos solitos quieren ir a la quiebra. No sé qué tienen en la cabeza.
So that happened in a construction site in Miami yesterday. So I'm going to translate it for you. What the guy was saying is that the governor of Florida, DeSantis, is pushing a law to make it a felony to work without papers, and that they are holding companies and employers to assist them to check those papers. And he's saying it's going to be impossible for them to work without papers. Impossible. And what he's requesting is that, do you have 300 people, 300 white people, 300 citizen white people to do sheetrock, framing, electricity, conduits, everything? And also, are these people available to go to the camps for agriculture? He wants to see how true it is that they are able to do the work that they do. And then he says he don't know what's going on in their heads. Me neither. This is what's happening in the state of Florida. I say no lies. You guys have a blessed day.